Hello and welcome to Passing the Torch, an online Bible study with your host and teacher, Bob Clark. Of course, that's me. And today is episode or lesson 15 of a series of shorter lessons that we've been doing called Bible Bytes that make you go, Today's lesson is called 300 Foxes, or as I've subtitled it, Bible Stories for Men Who Like Bible Stories. It's a takeoff of from a few years back. If you remember, there were ads on one of the channels about movies for men who like movies. So this is Bible stories for men who like Bible stories. I will give you a content warning on this one. Animals were killed in the making of this story. I'm not being funny about it. They really were. So if you're faint of heart, if you're squeamish, if you're one of those, oh, how cute, if you're seeing a killer whale or whatever, you may want to not watch this one. But also, if you do, don't judge ancient times by today's cultural norms. Okay? It was a different era. It was different. Everything was different, okay, from a cultural standpoint. So let's go into the story. And before I actually read this, I'll set the story up. So we're going to be talking about Samson, and this is out of Judges 15. Before the part that we are going to read, Samson had gotten married to a young Philistine woman. This is well before Delilah. But he got married to a Philistine woman. And I won't tell you everything that happened during the wedding and such, but he got very mad, got mad at his wife. He went, stomping off from there. His father thought that he had divorced her just as fast as he had married her. And so we get into the story here. So Judges 15, starting at verse 1. After a while, in the time of wheat harvest, that's important. So imagine wheat harvest, okay? It happened that Samson visited his wife with a young goat. He's bringing her a present, a young goat. Samson, couldn't you have tried diamonds? Okay. And he said, let me go into my wife, into her room. But her father would not permit him to go in. Her father said, I really thought that you thoroughly hated her. Therefore, I gave her to your companion, that's his best man in the wedding, who was Philistine. Is not her younger sister better than she? That's a great thing for a father to say. Please take her instead. And Samson said to them, this time I shall be blameless regarding the Philistines if I harm them. Here's the squeamish part. Then Samson went and caught 300 foxes. So there's a miracle right there. You try to catch 300 foxes. And he took torches, turned the foxes tail to tail, and put a torch between each pair of tails. So imagine picking up a fox by the tail, another one by the tail, put the two tails together, put a torch in there, and tie it all together. When he had set the torches on fire, he let the foxes go into the standing grain of the Philistines and burned up both the shocks and the standing grain, as well as the vineyards and olive groves. So imagine him, he has just set 150 pairs of foxes loose to go through this golden wheat harvest. And it just tears through. So he's looking at going down the rows of the harvest of the wheat. He's seeing flames pop up everywhere. And where he comes to the grain that had already been harvested, the foxes, they burned that up as well. Cool story for people that don't get so squeamish. However, how do you preach a sermon based on these verses? That's a good question. Personally, I would have never thought anybody could actually preach a sermon on Samson's 300 foxes. However, Reinhard Bonnke found a way. Just like Samson set the foxes out 2 by 2, and not until they had the torch, that is, they were ablaze with the fire, not the foxes, but the torch that he provided. Just like that, Jesus sends us out 2 by 2 to reach the world, but not until we are filled with the fire of the Holy Spirit. So let's read some verses that go with this. And he, that is Jesus, called the 12 to himself and began to send them out 2 by 2, and gave them power over unclean spirits. That's Mark 6, verse 7. Luke 10, verse 1. After these things, the Lord appointed 70 others also, and sent them 2 by 2 before his face to every city and place where he himself was about to go. Skipping over to verse 17. Then the 70 returned with joy, saying, Lord, even the demons are subject to us in your name. Luke 12:49. Jesus says, I came to send fire on the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. Acts 1, verses 4 through 8. And being assembled together with them, he commanded them not to depart from Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which, he said, you have heard from me. For John truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Holy Spirit not many days from now. I'm going to skip over a verse or two. Verse 8. But you shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the end of the earth. Acts 2, verse 4. So we've been talking about 2 by 2 and the power of the Holy Spirit, the fire of the Holy Spirit. So then we come down to Acts 2, first 4 verses. When the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. Then there appeared to them divided tongues as of fire, and one sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. So just like Samson sent out the foxes 2 by 2, but not before the torch was lit with the fire, Jesus sends us out 2 by 2, but not before the fire of the Holy Spirit is lit in our lives. We should be foxes for Jesus. And with that, there's Bible bites that make you go, We'll see you next time on Passing the Torch. So long.